All right, he's
Feels like
changed
fall.
into his superhero costume.
Da-da-da-da-da-da.
He is Frankie Flowers.
Yeah. Fall, great time to be out there and get gardening. Lots of questions coming in right now.
Okay.
We do. Let's get right to them now. First up is from Janice Coots, and she says, "Can I split hosta plants in the fall, and can I prune my lilac bush?" She got two questions in on this.
Two questions.
Two
Yeah,
for one.
hostas, they're that plant, that perennial plant that's great for shade that you can actually divide almost any time of the year. But fall's a perfect time of year to do those divisions. And if you've had that for 3 to 5 years, it's getting too big. Dividing is going to help the plant overall. The lilac. Now, do not prune your lilacs in the fall because it takes them almost a full season to develop their flowers. They're supposed to be pruned after bloom. If you prune a lilac right now, next year you won't see any flowers. Yeah, so don't prune
You
it.
stunt it.
Yeah.
Irene at No Kill TO says, how do you know when to pick butternut squash off the vine? Yum. It's so delicious and nutritious. The seeds, too. Roast the
So
seeds.
butternut squash and most of the squash families that are more the summer squashes and even in the fall to winter squashes, as soon as you start to see a vine die back, that vine starts to die back, that's a good indication it's time to harvest. As well, once they're fully colored, so you can see that's almost a tan color that you see. If you see any green veins that are still there, it's maybe not fully ripe. You want it almost to be fully tan in color.
A unified, consistent, solid color.
So if you see green, leave it on there. If we start to get frost and things like that, then you can pull them off the vine. But if the vine's dying back, it's the time to harvest.
Okay.
And how long can they sit after you've harvested them?
Oh, squash
Months,
can
right?
have months on end. That's the neatest thing. And you can actually even harvest them, put them by your front door as kind of decor, and then every once in a while you just pick one in and then pop it in the oven.
Caramelized.
So easy, a little bit of butter, olive oil. Oh, it's so beautiful.
So good.
Yummy. All right, next up is from Wanda, and she wants to know how does she ensure that her tulips come up next spring?
Yeah, tulips, the only plant that needs lipstick. That's my bad joke.
It's a bad joke.
It is. So
Very bad joke.
dad joke.
Tulips are not perennials. Actually, they should be lifted after they've finished their bloom and the foliage dies back in the spring. So you lift them, you divide them, you store them, and then you replant them. If you haven't done that, it's almost a little bit late to do that whole process. You can maybe divide a little bit. What I recommend to people, if you want an easier spring flowering flower, do daffodils. They're perennialized. They come back year after year. Really, squirrels kind of stay away from them. But the tulips need to be lifted after that foliage dies back in the spring, divided, stored, and then replanted in late fall.
They are so pretty if the squirrels don't get to them first. So, like, where'd they all go? Karen Bet writes, hosting a couple shower first weekend in November. That's exciting. We'll swap out mums with a white pumpkin. What can I expect from the succulents once it gets cold or we have frost in the planter?
So you can see her planter that she has here. And her planter is a beautiful fall planter that has a combination of some of the flowering cabbage, the mums. Those succulents that are in there are not perennial succulents. So what's going to happen to them if you leave them outdoors during the winter? They're going to die. They're going to die. You can separate those out and bring them indoors if you wish.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, beautiful. Jen Monroe, she has a strawberry plant in a large pot, wants to know how to winterize it.
Yeah, so many strawberries. Now, there's a couple new varieties. One's called Pretty in Pink that you can grow in a hanging basket. That variety and many of those varieties, best place to overwinter them is in the ground. So if they're in a container, if you can actually bury that container and pop it into the ground, and then you lift it back in spring and enjoy it in the container, that's one way. If you don't have that ability, sometimes putting bags of soil around it to create some extra insulation around that pot so it doesn't freeze solid.
Protects it.
Yeah.
Another food
What about
question.
could you bring it inside or no?
Well, you don't want to bring it inside because it still has to go through a dormancy period. You can put it in a garage that maybe it doesn't get as cold, or maybe even down into the cold cellar, but you got to water it still if it doesn't freeze solid.
Okay.
Punch McCauley says, at Kayaking Canada, we've got gorgeous sweet potato vines in our backyard. Now we have real sweet potatoes, but can we eat them?
This is so funky,
they?
eh? The Ipamea, the potato vine. You can take a look at what the potatoes look like. We have a picture here, too, of them. Can you eat them?
Oh.
Yes, they are edible.
Really?
Are they good? Are they good? No. They taste awful. I've tried them. But you can go ahead and just have some fun with them. They're,
What do they taste like? More like
They're
bitter?
very fibrous. They're very, very kind of tough. It's kind of like real rooty. Like
Even if you mash it?
Boil it?
Even when you boil them and boil them down, they're still like tough.
But give it a whirl.
Lots of fiber then.
Oh yeah, you might be. You'll feel it.
That's so sweet. Thanks, Frankie. At Frank Ferragini for more information. Keep those questions coming. We'll revisit this again. Right over to Mel.